Ben, thanks so much for taking the time today to come on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Ben, let's start off with tell us a bit about yourself and your company.
My name is Ben Estephan. Company name's Inhouse-Support Inc. I founded the corporation in 2001. Just seeing the need of there was no real IT companies at the time for small businesses. I had a lot of enterprise experience, and I decided to take that knowledge of automation process within and bring it down to the small business and use it with technology they already had that they didn't know of. So just made them aware, and that's how it kind of took off.
Well, first off, congratulations. It's a long time to be in business.
Thank
Well
you.
done. 2001, you would have been at the quite almost at the forefront of this then, correct?
Yeah, I was there. I started my career at the dot-com crash. I graduated from school, from college, and I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna go work for the big Silicon Valley North in Ottawa. I was all excited about the big companies such as Nortel and Research in Motion, and none of that materialized. I ended up, working at the restaurant, my parents' restaurant, continued there until I found something in my field. And then as throughout my, career, I started to gain experience and knowledge and founded the company and kind of took off from there.
So how long were you in the workforce for before you started talking like full time post?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, there's two phases of my life. There's the restaurant
Okay.
careers, and then there's
Okay.
the technology career.
Sure.
So, I mean, I've been working ever since I was a kid. My parents would take me to work with them, and I would sweep the floors at the restaurant, do the dishes, vacuum, clean the washrooms, fill up stock. That's how it was in the 80s and 90s. And then as I got my education and I kind of forced myself to get a job, I really started my career in 1999. So kind of with the Y2K bug. I was on the service desk. I was still doing technology and restaurant. I did it for a good. Although I founded my company, I really wasn't confident enough to kind of take off on my own and be financially stable. So I was working full time and doing in-house support at the same time. So I can really say up until 2014, until I kind of dropped my full-time positions, consulting and anything like that, and just full force with my organization, with my company, and decided to really push and grow it.
So is that advice you'd give to someone, Ben, that if they're thinking of starting a business? We're going to get into this later, but you've kind of
Yeah.
opened the door here for me. So
Yeah.
this question and your comment comes up often on the podcast that, hey, make sure you got some financial wherewithal. Make sure you understand the finance side of things.
Yeah.
Don't do this full time until you're set for it. Is that your advice as well?
Well, it was a little bit different for me because I did get married and started a family at a younger age. So I needed that stability to kind of push forward. But, if I were to go back and do it all over again, I would go all in at the beginning because I had nothing to lose.
Right.
I did do that. I wasn't sure if that was the path I wanted to do. I would say kind of know what it is that you want. Make sure you love it because it becomes your life 7 days a week. And I don't care what anybody says. And the people that tell you, oh, it must be nice to own your own company. It is if you love it. And I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. And I was working 10 days a week, not 7 days a week. And yeah, there was no life. I would come home 1 in the morning, think about things, sleep on it, wake up, and then have another idea. So my mind was always going, and my vacations were always on the phone. The typical entrepreneurial. Like you never really had a vacation, but that's okay. I loved it. Make sure you really, really love what you do. If you don't, you'll lose motivation. I've tried other things, and for me, it didn't work, and technology was the way to go for me.
Okay. Maybe you tell us a bit more about your business. So you do IT support. You said small business. What in your world is small business? How do you classify that?
Yeah,
Is it
so
based on
we're
number of employees or?
not really, actually. I kind of use SMB as a generalized term, but I do have large corporations that we deal with. We're a managed service provider in the IT world. So we do resell hardware. We manage the hardware devices on the networks. We manage the networks. We're basically your dotted line IT support department for your organization, where you can't afford to pay have your own department. You give us a call, we fix the problem. And we're not a reactive company. I like to think we're more of a proactive. So we make sure, especially with all the cybersecurity threats going on in the world, we'd like to be proactive, so you never have to call us. And if you don't call us, it's a good thing. The only time I'll call you is, or hear my voice, is just to check up on you and see how you're doing. But that's what we are. We resell the hardware, good hardware, the best of the best, and we do a lot of cloud. So, the servers in the cloud, computers in the cloud, AI. Now that everybody's talking about, we're trying to be an MIP, a managed AI provider. So we'll guide you down that path. That's kind of like, oh, I want to use this, I want to use that, but we try to make you aware what is it that you really need, because not one AI is good for your entire business. So our small medium businesses are generally on average between 5 and 35 users, and we have clients that are over 200. So
And are they all based here in Ottawa? Ben, you and I are both in Ottawa, so.
so 70% are based in Ottawa. The remainder, the 30%, are across Canada, and we're actually now we're looking at going south of the border with a different kind of approach. Same style, same everything, but we're across Canada right now, supporting, especially with the hybrid environment. So companies located in Ottawa or in Toronto or in Montreal, but then everybody else is in Vancouver, Halifax, Calgary, Edmonton. So we're pretty much, we support it all.
I would assume that the people that are working for you are in pretty high demand. First of all, is that a fair thing to say?
I'm not gonna say they are. I mean, I find that the industry shifts, and it's very specialized. You can no longer say I'm in IT. It's more of, I'm an AI specialist, I'm a server storage specialist, I'm Microsoft Azure specialist, I'm Microsoft 365 specialist. I just it's And if you're specialized, they especially on the cloud side, you got to be very careful how to try to maintain those guys, those employees, I should say, and keep everybody happy, and make sure that you don't want them to leave somewhere else.
So you're recruiting then, I guess it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, right? Having that specialization that you know exactly the type of person you want because they're going to specialize in X. Yet I would assume that you're pulling from a relatively shallow talent pool. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, actually, a lot of my technicians are coming. I really enjoy them coming out of college, university. I know what it was like. It was a struggle for me to come out of college. Nobody was giving me any jobs, because it was like, you go to the job fairs, and I thought those were a joke, because you look at the talent they were looking for, and it was 10 years, and I'm like, I thought this was a job fair, like, yeah, all universities, colleges welcome, and then 5 year, 10 year experience. I'm like, well, does a dishwasher count as that? Like, it was just sad, and I just take them, and if they fit the culture, they fit our mindset. I take them, and then we kind of teach them and certify them and get them where we want them to be. And it's actually great, because My technicians start. I know this sounds horrible, but we throw them to the wolves, and I strongly believe. Yes, you have the book smarts, which is great, gives you the tools, so you can understand it. But when I throw you to the wolves, you really understand where to apply those tools, and we guide you through that process. And we don't make you feel, well, why are you asking me that question? Or go Google it or go YouTube it. Yes, we do encourage that. But at the same time, we also say, I've been doing this way too long. Here's what we've done. Here's what you, and this is why. And we also, we like teaching the new kids on the block because they don't really understand why we do things a certain way, although they know how to do it, but there's a history behind the computer and why it needs to be done this way in the order of 1, 2, 3, and not 1, 4, 3. I constantly tell them that. I tell them that the reason why it's done because back in 1997 or back in 2004,
Yeah.
these were the problem. This is why we have this standard, for example. So I always kind of I make them understand the history, why we do it this way or why it's done this way, and what is the history of a certain technology. I'd like to think they appreciate that. I've had my employees come back and say, I feel like I work for a tech company, but I'm also learning history at the same time.
Very cool. And it's incredibly fulfilling. You and I just meeting for the first time today, Ben. But my background prior to starting my marketing agency was I was involved with sports teams here in Ottawa, and one of the most fulfilling and gratifying things that we did was taking I'll call them kids, but young adults with
Yeah,
literally no experience, and giving them an opportunity. And hey, listen, would they stay with us for 10 years? Not always, but
yeah,
we gave them their start, and I think that's really really important because, like you, many years ago when I graduated from college as well, no one gave me a chance.
yeah.
So
And I
to be able to
hated
do
that.
that is incredibly fulfilling for you and for them.
Yeah. I know what it was like. It was disappointing. It actually put me in a mini depression. I thought I was going to be like this gazillionaire at the age of 21.
Right.
And needless to say, they just threw you to the curb and said, figure it out. You need the experience. Well, where am I going to get that experience? Well, I had to do the help desk positions. I had to do and I had to learn the hard way. And
Right.
nobody taught me, nobody told me, nobody prepared me for it.
Yes.
I kind of had to kind of figure it all out and ask questions and just kind of make my way out there.
I can remember clearly sending resumes out to every ad agency back then. They were called ad agencies
Yeah.
here in Ottawa, and I thought I'm just going to wait for the offers to come pouring in. And little did I realize, yes, I had the education, but I had zero experience other than
Yeah.
traditional summer jobs that a student would have. So no one was kind of guiding us then.
Yeah.
And maybe things have changed now. I know I go back often and speak to the graduating classes or at Algonquin colleges where I went, and tell them, listen, volunteer, do anything that's in your field, even if it's unpaid, because you got to get some experience to go along with the diploma or degree, whatever it is that you have.
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, the other thing I really had to self motivate myself. I had to tell myself, I am good at this stuff. Yeah, I don't have 5 years, but I know my stuff, and I'm gonna go tell them I know my stuff. I mean, I didn't go in forcefully, and I'm like, I know my stuff. I don't need 5 years. I said, put me on, third level support. I can guarantee you. You don't like me in 2 weeks, fire me. I gave him that option. I said, no hard feelings. And I remember my manager that picked me up. He told me, he goes, I knew you were young and inexperienced, and I was kind of taking a chance. But you know what? I really like the fact that you said, fire me if you don't like me in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because I knew that you really wanted this job and you really wanted to focus. And you know what? I went in there, and within 8 months, I got a promotion because I really set out there and tried to prove myself. And I was good. I was polite. I never stepped on anybody's toes. I followed the channels, but I did what was right for me. And I had to believe in myself, and I had to say, come on, Ben, you can do this. You can figure it out. What's Active Directory? I didn't know all this stuff. I just knew Windows and how to turn it on and fix stuff. But then I really drilled myself. I broke so many things, and I've done so many mistakes. I mean,
It's the only way you
but
learn, though. It's the only way you learn.
that's the only way I learned. I didn't have, my parents didn't know anything about technology. I didn't have anybody teaching me. Yes, I had the school and the college, and I had certifications, but it wasn't real life terms. It wasn't real life experience. I mean, so what really happened if I, deleted this file, and, lo and behold, the computer doesn't reboot again.
Right,
So,
right.
or what if I take out this card? What happens? What if I go less memory? All these little things, and now I know. Yeah.
So
So
Ben, let's switch gears a little bit and
yeah,
talk about, you've been in business for a long time, first kind of part-time and then now full-time for, I think you said since 2014. So,
yeah.
call it 12 years. I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons along the way. What
Oh
advice
yeah.
would you give to someone that's listening that owns a business but struggling? Because as entrepreneurs, we've all hit those walls or
Oof.
hit those moments where we're struggling.
Yeah. So I know that feeling, waking up in the morning and you just stomach pains. You're not gonna make it. I have a mortgage. I have kids. I have whatever it is. I've been there 3 times, and I'm not gonna say I hit rock bottom, but it very darn close to it. To the point where I almost threw in the towel and I said, I'm just going to go find a job and go work. I can't, it's killing me. But I remember my dad used to tell me, just keep moving, keep going,
Yeah.
and you will be rewarded. Just keep going, get up. You fall down, get up. Don't even stick a band-aid on it. Just get up and keep walking. A lot of people are superstition. A lot of people are jealous. A lot of people see what you have, but don't really see the struggle. And, I had a good support system at home. My wife was amazing. She just kept, like, we're going to do this. Whatever you need, I'll help you out. And also just kind of, I had to work in here and get up and run. And it was a slow run, but there's always a way. Um, think of, the pandemic was scary for everybody. That was I think my, like, second time thinking I'm just going to collapse because everybody was just canceling their services because their businesses were closed. And I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have 4 kids. I have a house. And I was in panic mode. But I had this idea of, well, find what it is that people need. People needed antibacterial stuff. So I started to look for a company that manufactures these covers that go on keyboards and mice that are, because most of my clients were dental clinics and medical. So I teamed up with this company in Canada, and I gave them all the product numbers that I had. I'm like, rubberize me. And he's like, yeah, no problem, we'll do it. We have the molds. He had molds already for certain products. So, and I just got boxes and boxes and boxes of it, and I just blasted out an email, and I'm like, let's see what happens. And then lo and behold, the orders start coming through,
Wow.
and I was like, oh my god, thank god. Like, I'm like, okay, so it's scary, but think about it. And you know what, my wife knows me by now. She's like, I think you need to come home and you need to sleep. And when I sleep, it runs through my head over and over and over and over and over again. And then it's like I'm actually doing the work, but not doing the work.
Right.
So I'm doing it virtually in my mind, and then I wake up and I have a solution. So it's tough, like sometimes you panic, you cry,
Yes.
you get that bad feeling in the stomach, and you're going back and forth to the washroom, and like you don't know what to do. You're just struggling, but you will just keep going, keep pounding at it. Don't stop. The minute you stop, you will fail. And
And
I've seen
I
a
think
lot
what
of IT companies.
I think what you're sorry to interrupt, Ben, but I think what you're saying here
Yes. Okay.
is listen, you're going to struggle. That's what I
You
find
will.
when I'm coaching entrepreneurs or mentoring them, and they think it's unique to them. Oh, I'm the only one that struggled. I see all these success stories. Well, you're only seeing the good. Every entrepreneur out there will laugh and say, "Oh my gosh, every one of us stumbled, fell, stopped, had to start over, went bankrupt, whatever that looks like."
Yeah, yeah.
You know, every single entrepreneur has had a bad quarter, a bad year, a bad month, or whatever that
Hmm.
looks like. So don't feel bad about it. And I think there's a lot of guilt associated with that as an entrepreneur, that you got to be positive all the time. Everything's going to work. Yes, you need that mindset, but you also have to, like you said, you have to be willing to take some rest
Yeah,
and make sure you recover and recuperate and recharge. You have to take care of yourself.
exactly. I mean, there is no business if there is no you.
Right.
So money comes and goes. I get it. But like I said, keep going, and you will hit hardship, but you learn from those, and then you never. Then when you're coming around to the same corner again, you recognize it, and you're like, "This is what's going to happen if I do this,"
Right.
and then you stop, and then and you make a right turn, and then you bypass that, and you're like, "This is better," and then you go cruise control. But then there's different stages of business. You know, the more success, you know, the old saying, more money, more problems, more money, more problems. And every stage of a business, it's you think you have it all, and now more clients come in, and you run into another problem, a good problem, but another problem. Now you
Right.
need to hire more staff, and you know, it's an ongoing cycle.
So at the beginning, we touched on this a little bit about your journey. Starting part time,
Mm.
and then you said if you could do it over again, you jump in with both feet. So, is that the advice you'd give to someone that's listening, that's thinking of starting a business but just can't seem to pull the trigger, or is every situation unique? And I don't want to
Yeah.
put you in a corner here, but I'm trying to understand what advice you'd give to someone like that.
Well, I mean, you know what? Go 1,000%. If you can. Some, you know, depending on your situation. If you're not financially stable, then take it slow. You know, work your job, focus on your job, so you don't lose that job. And then yeah, you're gonna come home at 4 or 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night after your job. You're gonna be tired, and then just you're gonna have to push through if you want to make it. And that's what it takes. Like, it's a lot of sacrifice, unfortunately. And you know, surround yourself with positive people too. I've had negative people in my life just suck the life out of me, and
Right.
I had to learn how to remove that away from me, because I was always the nice guy, and still am. I'd like to think I am, but I had to gently let go, and just, you know, sorry, you're just weighing me down. And once you remove that out of your life, I think you just kind of you accelerate, and then you'll see the progress. You know, you'll see it happen, and then you'll probably hand in your resignation, and then you take it full time, and then you'll have, I mean, your own problems, but you know, it could be a success, and could later on reward you in life, and say, what the heck was I thinking, you know, 5 years ago? But, and you know, we always do that. No matter how successful you are, you're like, I should have thought of that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that? Why did I do that? You know, but you know, it's a learning process. It's go 1,000%. Do it if you can. If you're young and you're coming out and you have a great idea, go all in. Um, got nothing to lose.
I think as entrepreneurs, we have a hard time looking back and seeing how far we've come, because in general, I find most entrepreneurs are forward thinking, they're goal
Yeah.
oriented. What's next? What's the next mountain I got to climb? But I think
Yes.
sometimes we have to look back and say, look how far I've come. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I was at this point, and now I'm here. And take some time to appreciate and recognize that.
Yeah, you're right. 100% right. Because, like you said, I was always looking forward. And then sometimes I'd be down, and then I'd get a constant reminder, you know, from family, from especially my wife. It's like, Ben, look where you were. You know, you were you were working. You were making $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Look where you are now.
Right.
Like, and you forget about that, and then you realize, and then you look at your family growing up, and just stuff you provided and stuff that I didn't do.
Nice. Hey, Ben, before we let you go, where can our
Yeah.
listeners and viewers find out more about your company?
My website's inhouse-support.com, or they can give us a call at 343-700-2988. And option 3 for sales, you'll get me. I'm still a part of it. I love it. I'm very passionate about it. And we can talk all about your IT needs, from hardware to AI to cloud solutions to everything. So anything you plug in the wall, pretty much.
Thanks so much for your time today, Ben. Really
Well,
appreciate
thank
it.
you very much. Thanks, Matt.